My dad took me to see The Dark Knight when I was 14. He died weeks later. Found his letter years after. I was 14 when my dad took me to see The Dark Knight. He was a huge Batman fan, and I remember him being so excited. We got there early, and he bought me a large popcorn and a drink. I was so happy. We sat down, and I remember the theater being packed. The movie started, and I was immediately hooked. I remember looking over at my dad, and he had the biggest smile on his face. He was so happy. About halfway through the movie, I remember him grabbing my hand and squeezing it. I looked over at him, and he had tears in his eyes. I didn't understand why at the time, but I squeezed his hand back. After the movie, he took me to get ice cream, and we talked about how much we loved it. He told me that he was so happy that I loved it too, and that he was glad he got to share it with me. A few weeks later, he passed away from a heart attack. I was devastated. A few years later, I was going through some of his things, and I found a letter he had written to me. In it, he told me how much he loved me, and how happy he was that he got to share that movie with me. He told me that it was one of the happiest moments of his life. I cried for hours after reading it. To this day, every time I watch The Dark Knight, I think of him, and how happy he was that day. It's my favorite movie of all time.